This is the Let's Talk About It podcast,
It is.
episode zero, because this is kind of gonna be like the inner workings, outer workings of how we're gonna do things. I am CrystalWall. I am joined today by,
Hello. I am his cousin Lo. Welcome to
um,
the podcast.
and today we're gonna discuss AAA yearly sequels, i.e., Halo, Call of Duty, Forza, games like that release every year that are yearly, versus the games as a service model, such as Fortnite, Overwatch, CS:GO, Rainbow Six Siege, a game that released once and is changed over time.
All that
It's
good shit.
not really a sequel, not made to have a sequel. And so how did this start, by the way?
The
How did our
oh
conversation on this start the other day?
because I I saw the Modern Warfare new trailer came out yesterday,
Yep.
2 days ago.
Mhm.
Um and I was like, they're at least saying that they're gonna do a return to form, but the trailer looks really good. They say doesn't have any zombies, and like the way what they portrayed in the trailer, it I think it looked really like I don't know how to say like honestly like what Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 was, and then just made it better, and then put in still the things of modern events, because like the whole Modern Warfare series, was all about that like it's like an alternate almost reality, like, oh, what if we did do that in this war, and
Mhm.
like what could have transpired in everything going on. So I hope, and they even showed in the trailer like stuff like the white helmets and like rioting and like shootings and like just attacks and stuff like in France.
Mhm.
I wonder if they can do some stuff in like America. Like I really do think if they can nail down this campaign and the combat too, like I don't know, like there was like part of a cutscene where the guy was like shooting over the car, and I couldn't figure out like if that was like gameplay or if that was part of a cutscene, because it looked really weird if it was Call of Duty gameplay.
Mhm.
Um, but I hope that it's really going to be a true return to form from what we all liked. I mean, obviously,
I mean,
and they say no season pass, and with loot boxes being banned now, like they can't really implement loot boxes. So like,
I
I wonder
mean,
what they really are going to do with it.
right, and that's what I see it falling, not necessarily falling apart, but not being as successful as it could be. Um, because my take, as I told you the other day, is that games as a service, so like a free to play game or a game that releases once for like super cheap, like $20-$30 instead of the full retail 60 that we would pay every year for like Pokemon, for Halo,
Yeah,
for Call of Duty, um, is a more sustainable and player friendly model, so that like you have one game, you don't have to keep investing into it if you don't want to. Everything's cosmetic, everything, the money you invest in it, sure, it can be a status symbol like a Fortnite skin that's not in the shop for
right,
however long they decide to keep it out for.
right.
Or, you know Overwatch is a perfect example. It's what, $20 now,
It was 60 on release.
60 on release, but most games would stay 60 their entire lifespan. Overwatch shifted, so now you can get it for like $20,
Yeah,
get the
but
full
a lot of
package.
games just go down in price over the years just because they're older, unless you're on Steam.
Well, yeah, okay, but what I'm saying is, like, Overwatch is a game that is constantly changing.
Right.
Rainbow Six Siege is a game that's constantly changing. League of Legends
Fortnite's a game that's
constantly changing.
constantly
So
changing.
if a game constantly changes, people aren't inclined to go out and spend their money anymore, saving them more money if they don't spend it on in-game cosmetics, which not everybody cares for.
Well, hold on. Like
So it's a more sustainable model.
we're on like season 8 of Fortnite, right? I
I think
think
it's season 9. I think it's season
season 9.
9.
That's already a game and a half if they release a game. So like, because if they're on season 9, right, and most if not like people who play the game regularly are gonna buy the battle pass, which is $10, and they've
Mm-hmm.
only ever given one away for free. So if you subtract that, that's
Well,
still
no, that's not
$60.
true. You don't give away a battle pass. So yes, you can keep buying the battle pass, but if you save all the V bucks you got from the battle passes, you can just buy the next one, so long as you don't spend them.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
but like, yeah,
really,
but who
the
isn't spending
investment
the
you have
big
to
skins
make,
though?
right? Well, that's where self control has to come in. You know, and like I said, it's sustainable. You spend what was the first season pass? $10.
Yeah, yeah, it's been $10.
You spend $10 a year and a half ago. You invest no more money into Fortnite. You're playing one of the most popular games for a year and a half on $10. Whereas if that was Call of Duty, you'd buy it in November at $60. It would die out in April. You'd have nothing to play until next November when you spend another $60. Whereas Fortnite, it's constantly changing. You don't have to spend a ton of money. I mean, you can spend money.
The difference being is that like Fortnite, yes, it's constantly changing, but is it still Fortnite? It's like.
What do you mean?
Like,
is it still Fortnite?
Okay, so obviously it's still on the same map, right? And I'm not saying it's as a detriment, but it's still on the same map. It relatively.
Well, I think from the time Fortnite has started, I don't think there's a single outside of one or two random, barren nothings on the Fortnite map is the same. I don't think anything's the same on there. I mean, you have a whole
the same anymore.
Right, so it's really in a year and a half a completely new game. I don't even think a single weapon from the time it released is in the game.
No, it's still the same weapons.
In Fortnite?
Yeah. They didn't replace the whole weapon roster.
I think they have. I don't think. No, I think there's some weapons that are. I think a majority of the weapons.
A lot of the shotguns are still there.
I don't think so.
The ARs are still there.
I don't think so.
The pistol is still there.
I don't think so.
I just played it the other day, dude. They're still there.
I'm just saying. I don't think so.
They're still there.
I'm just saying.
They are. I swear. I literally played it.
Okay, but still, at the end of the day, it's completely different.
It is a totally different game in a sense that it's been updated a lot. But if you take a game like Destiny, right? At least with Destiny 2, right? Like they are kind of trying to do a well done games as a service model. The first one, in everyone's opinion, was better. Destiny 2 kind of sucks ass right now. But besides that, they're still like releasing, like they've had this whole season pass thing where it's kind of like what Call of Duty did or is doing for like the longest time, where like you buy the season pass and then you get like that whole new maps, new part of whatever that gets added. And Destiny's kind of doing that, where if you did get that season pass, you don't have to pay for the subsequent DLCs that came out with the new story, with the new weapons. There's some parts of it that are free, and the Destiny 2 is better playable free than Destiny 1 was, but the content is not as good. So they kind of did the trade-off where if you're so basic, like if you like are like a very like just you pop on your Xbox or whatever at the end of the day just to play like an hour of a game. I mean, it's still a good game then, because there's plenty of grind out or plenty to play just for an hour or whatever at the end of the workday. But for everyone else that like wants the hardcore grind, like you find the best shit and then you're done. Like there's nothing else to do. Like the game is straight up just boring right now. Like because every single time they've released any piece of content, everyone grinds it out. There's like a mystery or whatever. People solve it within a week and a half, and that's it. You can play Crucible PvP, and that's it. Like there's literally nothing else to do, because you get to, there's a video that came out a while ago. I forgot who it's by, or actually a couple videos worth that we're talking about something like I think it's called power creep, where like they can't give the players too much power in a sense that it ruins the integrity of the game that they're trying to create. Like
what do you mean by power?
Like
in-game power, like the power, like to feel like your character is stronger than somebody else's, or like the power to influence how the game is changed and developed.
It's in-game power. So like if you're a developer, right, and you want to make a game, you want players to be able to keep playing your game because it has, at least like I said, like you want the game to be in a sense difficult because you want the players to try and do things, right? So power creep is it's not a theory. It's more so just it's a thing that can happen to games where you give the players too much power in a sense that now your game has no difficulty. It's like because they nerfed pretty much all of the best weapons in Destiny, right? And everyone got pissed. Like no one, because like no one likes the nerfs. They don't, because
Mm-hmm.
those are like the most fun, best weapons that you could use. But the problem was, some of those best weapons, the developers are starting to design the game in certain fights that they were going to do around the fact that those players were going to have those weapons. So instead of actually making new stuff that they were going to release more creative and more, uh, how do you say, like how to design the bosses in a sense that will give the players difficulty, they had to literally just say, oh well, these guys are going to have these weapons. They're going to be able to cheese the boss this fast. We're going to have to do some work around it for that. And as a
Mm-hmm.
developer, you just can't do that. Like like for yourself, you're ruining the game. Maybe the players are enjoying having super powerful weapons, but does it actually, in the long run, help the integrity of the game and the content that's going to come out?
Okay. So,
There's a few good videos online. If you guys want to watch them, you should. It's very interesting.
um, so if I'm okay, so what you're saying is a game that is just a yearly AAA title. It's not gonna,
Right.
it's gonna get a sequel.
Mhm.
Doesn't provide players with the necessary tools to feel accomplished
It's not accomplished. It's
or
that they
satisfied.
give them. It's kind of like when you know how when you like that classic stereotype where like you have a dog or whatever, some type of animal on like the treadmill providing
Hmm.
power. You just have like the little food or whatever hanging in front of them to
Hmm.
keep them going.
Yep.
It's kind of like that, where they're not making so where you're a god and can do whatever you want and just cheese through every boss fight.
Hmm.
But they need the game to have enough challenge so that way they can actually release content without having to worry about the fact that the players are going to have these weapons that all they have to do is just sit in the back and do nothing.
Okay.
Like, does that make sense?
Yes. And so, are you saying that that only happens in a AAA yearly game,
It it's
or
it's
does that
it's
happen
not
in
something that
any
only
game?
happen. It's something that developers should try and avoid. It's more so in a general sense of what the concept of power creep is, of giving the players too much power.
So, what are you saying that occurs more in
Mm,
a game that is developed for years and is a one and done release, or a game that is worked on for a year, a
I
two, and
think
then
I
is
think I think it would have
progressively
to be.
changed over time, like as a service, like a game as a service.
Well, I think it's a very specific type of game because it can only happen in games where, even if it's a one and done, that have the ability to acquire new weapons or new loot. Like, it can't really happen in a game like Overwatch because all they would need to do is, because it's a hero-based shooter, is just nerf that hero,
Hmm.
right? It could only happen in games like WoW, in
Well, that's not. Hold
Destiny,
on, hold on. I
in
wanna, I wanna, I wanna
MMOs.
backtrack for like 2 seconds. You said that can't happen in Overwatch. They could easily release a hero that. All right, let's take Mercy for example. They could
Okay.
easily just implement another Mercy that she has the old Mercy res as her ult, and
Okay.
her gun's more powerful,
Okay.
and she heals faster, and the damage buff is more. That could happen. I mean, that could be a total thing. That could be a complete thing that happens. Will it happen? Probably not. But don't I wouldn't count that out. I mean,
Like,
Overwatch is going to reach a point where they're going to have to re-release heroes with different kits, and it's just going to be. I don't want to say a reskin because skins are in the game, but a redesign, and then you have two of the same
but
character in a
but
game.
would it make it would only be that would only be unbalanced if there was nothing that could counter them in the first place, right? So what I meant by power creep as well is that, like, it gives the ability to players to, it makes the game unbalanced in the sense that the players have more power over the game than the game has over the players. As in, you need, like, because when you buy a game like
Uh
like
huh.
like Dark Souls, right? Like, the Dark Souls doesn't have power creep at all because it doesn't give the players any chance to feel more powerful than the game itself.
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
Because Dark Souls is a struggle. It's the challenge
Okay.
of not having that massive power.
Okay.
And as a developer, that's what you want. You yes, you can have your players feel like they have powerful gear,
Mm-hmm.
but like in a sense that like Warframe, right? They did a
Mm-hmm.
redesign of some of the melee weapons and combos and whatever because a lot of them were unbalanced. Like you could literally just spam E, run through an entire mission, and you have everything you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that because you can't design. You just can't design levels around that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in a sense that you have to keep the game where it's like I said before, like the players want to keep getting up to that level, but they're just out of reach. Whereas the game still gives them enough challenge to be a playable game. Because once everyone has the best loot, what do you have to do? You
Yeah,
can't play the game
but
anymore.
I think that leads to player frustration in more cases than none, and
Well, you would
inevitable
think so. Maybe when
inevitable
you change the frustration
inevitable burnout of a game. Like
if
I
the game's too
person
challenging.
no, I wouldn't say too challenging, but I'm saying say like you just said, the dev is keeping the power just away from the player, and if as a player I'm playing a game, let's go to Warframe, and I just can't reach that ceiling, I'm just gonna be like, dude, this is lame. I'm gonna go play something else.
Well,
My
what do you
my
mean?
like say there's a piece of gear. Let's say this is just a general example. A level 100 piece of gear. The player cap is 99. You can't get that until you reach 100.
Well,
When
no. It's not locking a piece of
no.
content
I know. But this is as an example. Say it's a level 100 armor. You're level 99, but it takes 6 months to get enough experience points to get to that level 100 armor. Do you think a lot of people are going to spend 6 months doing the same things
It's
over
not
and
that
over and
though.
over?
That's not what I meant. It's like it's not like about the. It's yes about the gear. It's also about the enemies in the game. It's So I looked it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the definition of power creep is a phenomenon present in any collectible game that uses both old elements and new ones. It is the gradual unbalancing of a game due to successive releases of new content. So, if said new content, right?
Okay, so by that definition, the newly released stuff is so sought after by players and is considered meta or good. It phases out
Exactly.
the old stuff.
Exactly.
So it's not necessarily a better piece of gear than the last.
No. So do you remember like with Destiny
So,
1,
but then
right?
that's on the players for determining what's good and what's not. That's not.
Well, eventually, it'd just be a matter of them figuring it out. Like, oh, this is the best gun. That's it. It wouldn't take long. Like, you remember how in Destiny 1, right? How the second they released a new DLC or like a new yearly DLC, everything from the past year is just like not valuable to do anymore.
Right. Well, I mean
Right?
that's most
Yeah,
yearly
but
games that
exactly,
are
but that's
screwed.
not good because that means that that means like because all the time what would
Right, but
happen in
that
Destiny
same
1
that
is you would
same
just grind out the exact same thing that just came out and then you can't do anything else because the stuff from last year isn't valid to do anymore unless you were like a collector.
the
Like
so
there's nothing to
the
do.
so yeah, okay. So let's get back to our main topic, yearly games versus games as a service.
Right.
So taking the Destiny example of the yearly pass,
Mm-hmm.
we can equate that to a Call of Duty game, a Halo game, a Forza game. You have Call of Duty. So you had Black Ops 4, at least what?
Right.
Would that come out in October of 2018?
Yeah,
October?
it was around that fall.
And I played it, you played it, our friends
Yeah.
played it. We're like, damn, this is a really good Call of Duty.
That's pretty fun. It was.
When we stopped playing it, January,
Yeah.
December,
Yeah. Yeah.
and guess what? The same thing's gonna happen again. The new Call of Duty is gonna come out. Why are we gonna go? What reason do we have to go play that $60
Well, hold on.
$60
To be
COD
fair.
we spent in October? Granted, yes, they are different.
To be
But-
fair,
Personally, I think you give me a Rainbow Six Siege, you give me a League of Legends, a game that is free or very cheap, to play that is changed over time and tweaked and made enjoyable is a much more appealing idea to me.
So, I read on Twitter the other day, right?
Mhm.
So somebody said this, right? The reason why we always buy the newest Call, like every year, right? Like think about it, like every year, everyone says,
I'd say it's
I'm
the
not gonna
nostalgia
buy the
factor.
new Call of Duty. I'm not gonna buy the new one because the
Yeah,
last
but it's a
one just
mob.
sucked."
It's a mob mentality thing. You see
It's-
everybody on
almost
social media
that.
saying, "Oh,
What-
this COD's gonna save the community. It's gonna change everything." At the end of the day, it's the same. Granted, I'm gonna feed into the cycle here. I hope Modern Warfare doesn't do that. But the cold
looks really
reality of it is, unless it's Call of Duty 4, what are we doing here?
Like okay,
It's
what I read on Twitter, right?
it's kind of worthless.
Was that like the reason why we always buy the new Call of Duty is because we always hope it's better or it somehow is better than the last one. Because think about it, right? The reason why we always like a lot of people always buy the new Call of Duty is because they just hope that it somehow fixes the problems that they have with the last one because there's also no other game in the world
Mhm.
that does what Call of Duty does. It doesn't have the same kind.
That was true. That's not true anymore.
Like, well, hold up. Like, okay, so like, what games have like that? Like, to me, right? At least, I was playing Battalion earlier, playing games like R6, and a lot of the free games that tried to do Call of Duty obviously failed, and those are weird indie games that came out on fucking Steam that were free, right? Like, what game can give you that same like kind of experience that like Black Ops 2 gave, or that Modern Warfare like with that same kind of gunplay and TTK.
Well, you're not gonna get that. What you're gonna get is a similar experience. So the same feeling that somebody my age got playing Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3. Those were the games I grew up on, and
I grew up on those too.
Those games, you're not gonna get the same, features of those games. Those maps, the gun feel,
Yeah, but why? Why can't we get something
because that's evolution. That is progression. That is progression in there's progression in everything for a reason. There's a point where something is good, and nostalgia is not a bad thing, but you have to move on. So like you can't stay with the same thing forever, regardless of how good it is. You know what I'm saying? So like Modern Warfare, inarguably the best Call of Duty.
It's definitely
everybody's favorite Call of Duty.
That's not true. We can argue about that later. That's not true.
Okay, for the purpose of this argument, everybody loves Modern Warfare, the Modern Warfare trilogy.
Yeah.
For the most part, those games are fairly similar to one another in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, because they're part of.
But there's a reason yes, we all want those back because they were the best, and for nostalgia's sake, people are drawn to that. But at the same
like
time,
WoW classic thing.
Right, the WoW Classic. But at the same time, there's a reason those disappeared to begin with. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So to progress and to create something new and better, you have to move on.
Well, supposedly better is something
from
new
things that people like.
Better?
No, I'm not saying new has to be better, but to progress as a society, as a game developer, as a human being, change is needed. Whether somebody likes it or not, to progress your work or your life or your success, change has to be there.
I mean, okay.
Now, change isn't always a good thing, as we've seen with Call of Duty, but to get where Activision is, if Activision had stayed, with the Modern Warfare and just stopped that, and that was like, say Modern Warfare 3 became a game as a service, and that was the last Call of Duty game ever released, and it was just changed over time, people wouldn't be mad. But would you think Activision would be as big and as popular as they are now with the Overwatch League? Do you think that those things would exist? Exactly. So it's kind of like a butterfly effect almost. You can't predict it. You don't know what's going to happen.
Okay, hold on. Then what? Then how the fuck does WoW work? Right? Then because that game's been out for over 15 years.
You know the simple answer? It's an exception to the rule. I can't give you any. I know nothing about World of Warcraft. I know nothing, but there's a reason that it's changed so much, and that they're bringing it back for nostalgia's sake. Are people going to enjoy it? Yes. Are people going to play it the same way they did when it first came out? Of course not. No. Are they going to be like? Are they going to feel maybe empty if it's an exact? If they just said, "Oh, here's the server, let's turn it back on." I think people will feel empty and disappointed at the end of the day.
It's not though. It's not gonna be that way. I watched the whole thing on the press conference.
Let's remember what was the last expansion? Battle for Azeroth? Yeah. I had never played World of Warcraft until that month. Right. Never, not once in my life. As a service, that game was cool. It provided me with a good month of gaming. Did I feel like I wasted $60 on the month subscription and the expansion that for a game I played for a month and had never played for the 15 years prior to that? Maybe. But I think because of it, I was able to look at World of Warcraft as a whole. I don't still know much about it, but I think I can still see that there's a reason that there have been expansions and shit changes, and that's why the original one doesn't exist.
I mean, the original one only doesn't exist because they obviously people kept playing the game, they kept updating the game for new content, and with new content they just brought about change. They're like, well, let's just try this out. Let's bring in this new piece of gear. Let's bring in these new mechanics. Let's get rid of these old mechanics.
Right.
It's like,
and so
that makes sense.
And that's why games as a service are more, like I said at the start, long-term, user-friendly, player-friendly, and sustainable for companies. Because you can change it. People don't have to buy into it if they don't want to, i.e. cosmetics. You have free DLCs. You like Overwatch, you have free heroes, Tom Clancy's. Okay, Tom Clancy is kind of a weird one though, because you do have to pay for the operators, but if you buy the season pass,
not if you play the game.
If you play, you have to play the game a lot. Whereas in Overwatch, there's
enough time, easily between each season. As if you play the game at least for an hour every day, or at least out of 5 days out of the week, right?
But also
you
before
will get the new operators.
Yeah, okay. But there's also the thing with the Tom Clancy, the different versions. You have the starter, you have the advanced, you have the basic.
They got rid of some of them, I believe.
They did. But I ended up, I think I got the starter edition. So yeah, the operators cost more, but you earn more, which didn't really make sense to me, because it really just works out to the same math as if you bought the regular edition.
Yeah.
But with the regular edition, I don't think you got the 4 free operators. Mm-hmm. And it was a really fucking ass backwards thing. So I'm stuck with that Garbo version. But I think between the $7.50 I paid for that base version, I've only put in $40 to that game. And I think it was on this season's pass, the year 3 pass, or the year 4 pass. All the other operators I bought with in-game.
I mean, I can't attest to that. I've only bought so many operators. I think I bought all the base operators, obviously with with Renown, and then I've maybe only bought maybe 2.
Oh, that's not true. I did spend 15 on that stupid Color is Magic or whatever event. So it's like 30. It's like 40. It's like $45.
Well, yeah, but that's cosmetics, right? Anyone can buy that.
Right, but what I'm saying is I didn't have to do that. I could have played the game without those and have lived happily ever after, and it doesn't affect my game. Whereas Call of Duty, you have to pay. You have to buy the $60 game, the $60 season pass, to play the new maps, to get the cosmetics, and if you don't do that, you're left out. Granted, that's not going to happen this year because that's non-existent. But at the same time, that was the formula for games for the last how many years? 15,
I've
20 years?
I've bought and owned, or I've owned and played through every Call of Duty game since Modern Warfare 4. So that includes Modern Warfare 4, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, 3, Black Ops, Black Ops 2, Ghosts, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare. I didn't buy the package of Infinite Warfare that came with the Modern Warfare Remastered. I played it on PlayStation when it was free. World War 2 and Black Ops 4. Like, I've bought and owned every single one of them. I've played all the campaigns. I've played a thorough amount of multiplayer in every single one except World at War. And like, ever since Infinite Warfare, I want to say, because Black Ops 2 was actually kind of good. I played that on Xbox for like a while. I didn't play it as much as I did Advanced Warfare and Ghost. Black Ops 3 was different for a lot of reasons, but that was just because it was after Advanced. Like, I think ever since Ghost, right, which came out in 2013, that was 6 years ago. Ever since Ghost, the Call of Duty formula has immensely changed. Because Call of Duty Ghost was like the first game that
obviously, because
really
there's different
that really deviated from the formula.
What do you mean formula though?
Okay, so Ghost was like the first game that introduced a lot of new stuff that was not like regular to Call of Duty whatsoever. There was the oh god, wait, I haven't played the game in so long.
You just mean the game modes and the way the game was played?
It was like, yeah, the way the game was played, the interactions that you could do with the maps. There was like, it wasn't exactly zombies, but it was like it was like an alien thing. I don't know if you kind of remember that.
I don't.
It was called like, I think it was called like.
I hardly played Call of Duty after Modern Warfare 3.
I played a shit ton of like Ghost. Y'all gonna shit me for it. Ghost is one of my favorite games.
No, I'm not gonna shit on you. A lot of people liked Ghost as their favorite Call of Duty.
No, actually, a lot of people hated it.
No, there was for the amount of people that hate it, that amount of people also found it to be their favorite.
But I remember that game like in the it had a campaign. Every Call of Duty had a campaign until obviously Black Ops 4. But there was something, the way, I don't know how to say it, but the way it was just played and designed was very different than even Black Ops 2 and Black Ops, which were still also very different from the Modern Warfares, but they were still similar in the kind of the way that the game was played out. And then obviously we got into the whole techno age of Ghost and Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Ever since Infinite Warfare, I almost thought I would not ever buy a Call of Duty game again. But the only reason why I think we all bought and played World War II and then Black Ops 4 was because those two were radically different games
than the previous 8.
Exactly. Like, those were very like
World War II, it was the quote unquote return to boots on the ground.
Right.
Which,
yeah, almost.
Which
was not true.
No, not in the slightest. I mean, World War II was
technically was, but was it a good game? Not.
I don't want to say
after 3 months. No.
If
that was a very short-lived game.
Yes.
And the loot boxes were horrendous. That game had a lot of issues.
Yeah.
World War II had a lot of issues.
The one good thing, that was the one good thing I enjoyed about World War II was that central hub. I think if Call of Duty didn't abandon, all right, maybe this is just me as a I just completely blanked out. I literally
you're saying as long as the Call of Duty formula like didn't abandon something.
As a PC gamer, if they didn't abandon the PC ports, I think Call of Duty would not be in the continuous yearly cycle.
Wait, what do you mean abandon the PC ports? They released them on PC.
If you can consider some of the disasters that were caught on PC.
Oh, I know some of them were horrible. I didn't buy the only games.
Obviously, I grew up playing console, but from what I've heard, from what I've read, from what I've seen, early CODs on PC, and even up until World War II, COD on PC was simply atrocious, unplayable, unoptimized, and it's just that alienates a big part of
Yeah,
today's
it does.
gaming market. I
It
mean, and that is thanks to Fortnite that so many people are just gaming on PC now.
does.
Granted, I still own a PlayStation. I still own my Switch. I don't own an Xbox anymore.
Yeah, we all do.
But PC gaming, I don't want to say it's the future because it's always kind of been ahead of consoles, but it's been so inaccessible
Right.
that people weren't able to get it. Whereas console, you could buy a console for $200, $300 at the time, whereas a PC,
Setup, no errors, no
no,
nothing.
right? You plug it in, you play. A PC,
Yeah.
that's a whole other mess that you need.
Yeah.
You need hell, you
That's
need
the only-
friends, you
that's the
need
only thing that-
everything,
yeah.
everything and another thing to be able
Yeah.
to play on PC. But
Yeah.
with the introduction to games as a service, PC gaming is while consoles have caught up to PC in terms of, I guess,
And
price
according to
and
some of our
popularity.
friends- according to some of our friends, we'll be more powerful. We'll talk about that's a whole separate thing.
that's another episode. That is a whole nother
That-
episode in and of
next-
itself.
Next episode of
I
Let's
don't
Talk About podcast, we'll talk about the new Xbox One, PlayStation 5, all that garbo that's gonna happen. That'll be part of the
Okay.
next topic.
Okay, that sounds good. Oh, dude, that just irritated me. But so but like I was fuck, I completely lost it. Oh well. I do. Okay, so we've been going. Okay, we've already been almost gone for 40 minutes here. So if anybody watching wants to throw in, have a quick little a chime here or there about what you prefer. Oh,
Sneeze
excuse
now.
me, I had to sneeze. Where if you
You're
like,
muted. You're muted.
oh, sorry.
You're good.
If you want to have us talk a little bit quickly about what you think is a game that releases once and is stretched over the course of 5-10 years. Look at CS:GO, Overwatch, Fortnite, a game like that where you have to buy or it is free but at a very cheap cost and is changed immensely over the amount of time it's out. Or do you prefer a game like Call of Duty that releases every year and you're stuck in the same cycle of, oh, this game's going to change everything. Oh, I'm done playing it. It's January. This sucks. What do I
Okay,
do
hold
now
on.
until...
Hold on. What about games that are in COD that don't release every year, but have subsequent $60 like games like Halo
I think... Okay, my problem...
that have
Okay,
that take years. Like actually, Halo Infinite is the longest break. It as of this year is the longest break between Halo games you've ever had.
okay, don't get me wrong. Halo is one of my all-time favorite franchises, and it was the first shooter game I had ever played on any console ever. It was the original Halo.
Mhm.
I think Halo... Now, I'm hoping for different, because it is releasing on PC and Xbox, and a lot of people are very excited because, like you said, this is the longest break between Halo games, so people are starting to get that itch. I don't think it's going to live up to the expectations that people have because it's been so long and it has that stigma of it's just another $60 Halo game that I'm going to get bored of within 2 months.
Hold on.
That's my opinion. Like I said, I hope it's not true. But personally, I believe that releasing a game with every year, 2 years, 3 years, like Halo, like Call of Duty, like Gears of War is another one. It just doesn't work anymore. People attention spans are shorter. The gaming the age range of gamers is while it's staying at the same 35 years of age, it's getting younger. And kids, so it was you'd consider a gamer, what would you have considered a gamer 5 years ago? 12 to 35? You're now looking at 7-8 years old playing Fortnite 17 hours a day, only going to school afterwards. You know, you got parents hiring coaches for their kids to play Fortnite. And so those attention spans are decreasing over time. And now I kind of went on a rant about attention, games holding my attention on Twitter last night, but that's completely irrelevant to this. I think as a game changes like Fortnite, well, that's how it's been able to grasp so many people's attention spans for so long, because it's constantly changing, because people don't have to keep buying into it. Like you didn't have to pay $60 last year for Fortnite, and then $60 for Fortnite season 1. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
or season 2, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
At the end of this year, right? Let's see if I'm looking at this right. At the end of this year, right, it will have been just the same amount of break between Halo games that we had between Halo 3 and Halo 4. Grant, whatever your opinions are about Halo 3 and Halo 4, is regardless.
Great.
It's
both great.
As of the end of this year, it will be if they release the game at the end of like 2020, although they probably won't. People are suspecting like Q1 of 2020. If it gets near the end of 2020, it will have been the longest break between Halo games. And granted, why Halo 4 took so long is because they swapped developers. There was a whole thing about that.
Yep.
A lot of people are saying that, and I agree, that 343 has actually taken Halo in almost a better direction, actually, outside of the game that Bungie didn't whatsoever. We've gotten infinite amounts of more, like, for the Halo community in general. 343 has done more events. They've done more with Halo Waypoint, which is a whole community-based thing. We've gotten dozens and dozens and dozens of books, movies, comic books, shows, like everything. There's so much more about the lore around Halo that we've gotten from 343 alone than Bungie ever did. Like almost 200 times the amount that Bungie did. Like there's so much that the Halo community in general have gotten just from 343. That has nothing to do with the developers and game designers of the games. 343 is the company themselves have done an excellent job of handling Halo in general, like just outside of the game. And I think, right, so Halo 4, a lot of people didn't like whatsoever. A lot of people thought it was the worst.
Well, they're
Halo 5, right, is different. It's not my favorite game at all.
Personally, I believe Halo Reach is my favorite.
Halo Reach is pretty good.
And Halo 5 was complete and utter dog shit garbage.
I enjoy Halo 5. Okay, what Halo 5 did right was it got a lot of. Hold on.
What did Halo 5 get right?
Halo 5.
I'd like to know what they got right.
A lot. It got almost the same amount of attention in the multiplayer side that Halo 3 got. It does multiplayer in Halo very well. It does it very well. Because I've put a good amount of hours into it to know. The esports scene is entertaining to watch, to say the least, because of the way the Halo 5 dynamics in the game works.
There's only like 2 esports that are boring to watch.
Though. Halo is not one of them.
No. So you can't. I think the argument that it's entertaining to watch is null and void, seeing as how the only lame. And granted, I love R6. R6 esports fucking suck to watch. It is so slow and boring. Why do you think the Overwatch, like people like fast-paced things? Why do you think football is such a popular sport in America? Because it's fast and dangerous.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like watching the Overwatch League for a long time.
See,
I thought it was horrible. I thought it was actually worse than R6 because the only reason why is because there was so much going on screen. It's hard to keep track of. When I was watching it, like if you're playing it, it's a different thing. But watching it, I didn't like it all. I know it's like a me thing. But I find R6 to be easier to track because as long as you know what you're looking for,
Overwatch League,
it's great to watch.
We have gotten completely off topic here.
I know.
So we're gonna wrap it up.
That's how it goes.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
how it
So
goes.
we're gonna save the esports conversation for another episode. We're gonna save the console, PC, whatever the hell you want to call that argument. That's gonna be for another episode.
The new next console generation, basically.
So we're gonna wrap it up. For episode 0 of the Let's Talk About It podcast. Hopefully, I don't know if we're gonna do one next week. I want to get a few things straightened out, see how this first episode does.
We gotta figure a bunch of stuff out. This is basically like a test one. See
Yeah,
what
this
we
is
can
kind
do.
of like a pilot episode to see if we
Yeah.
can sell it to the network. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's not obviously what's happening. Would be cool. But so this is kind of just like a test. It's gonna go up on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you can find a podcast. And so we'll probably leave this up for a week, 2 weeks. So probably not next Saturday, the Saturday after, we will go again just to see how many people are listening and commenting and saying, hey, do more of this.
Yep.
Inevitably, what'll happen is we're going to do it anyway. But just to gauge where we can go, I think is a good start. So I'm not saying it's a guarantee that in 2 weeks there's a new episode. But if you want another episode, you got to listen. You got to share it. You got to
like
say,
it, comment,
you got to say,
subscribe to the
hey,
podcast.
do another one.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, we're left out in the dust and we don't know what to do. So this has been the Let's Talk About It podcast, episode 0.
0.
How we got to come up with an outro.
Because we can't do yours.
No,
we can't
yeah.
do mine, 'cause mine
Exactly.
doesn't
We got to come
change.
up. Holy shit. We got to come up with a whole new branding. Oh my god. This is my favorite part about doing anything
And
is
plus
branding.
what we could do is like we could have like an automate, like we could make one too. Doesn't have
Fuck
to be
off.
the same thing.
So, all right, I think I got it. So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to today's episode.
Thank you very
And
much, guys. Appreciate it.
so, hopefully, we will see you again in 2 weeks with episode 1, the true first episode of the Let's Talk About It podcast. So, what we're going to do is after this, we're going to formulate. Then we're going to be back 2 weeks, hopefully, if you guys say do another one, we're going to do it with a nice new format and some worked out kinks from today's episode. So remember, like, share, subscribe, do whatever. Tell us you want more. Let us hear it.
Get us everything.
But don't forget to talk about it. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Adios, guys.